If you're thinking about starting your own business, then this is for you. When I first started my business, there was a lot of mistakes that I made. My name is Bree, and I'm a video producer and strategist. I own my own agency called the Jadency House, and on here I do all things social media and business. All these mistakes I made are very personal to me and my own experience when I first started out, and it was really trial and error. So let's get into it. I am a very prepared person. I'm very type A, and so much so that it can be too much. I spend a lot of time thinking about ideas and thinking of the creative process and thinking about how I'm going to do something. And all of that takes up the energy that I could be using to actually do the thing. One thing I've had to learn over the past few years of running my business is to make quicker decisions and start doing. I'm definitely a productivity girly, so I love my agendas, my color coordinated highlighters and pens. But at the end of the day, nothing gets done unless you just do it. When you're first starting a business, it can be all-consuming. That is something that I learned very quickly, especially if it's something you're passionate about. So when I first started, I was working every day of the week, on the weekends. I would answer messages at 11 o'clock at night, and I do still do this sometimes, but I've gotten much better about it. And setting boundaries is super important. Not only boundaries with other people and your clients, but also boundaries with yourself. Because when you don't, this could be a surefire way of burnout. So now if I have a day that I'm supposed to be off, I will make sure that I don't look at my Slack, I don't look at my email, I don't look at Upwork. I set very clear boundaries with the times that I'm going to be working. I'm a very impatient person, and I feel like with the world we live in right now, it's so easy to get caught up on where you should be or the timeline of things, or if someone else is doing the same thing as you, but they've gotten miles ahead. It's so easy to compare and just to have that longing of something better. However, I remember when I first started out and I would see people who were freelancers and I looked up to, and I thought, how am I going to get there? Good things take time, and there's nothing you can do to make it instant. Having that expectation of, oh, I need to be here by tomorrow is just so unrealistic and not healthy. I wish I could have just told myself to take a chill pill, honestly, because when you have this idea of where you're supposed to be, you just make yourself really unhappy. Last year, I read this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And one thing that I really liked about this book is he said, if you could just get 1% better every day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. And that's why consistency is key. You don't have to have big overnight changes, but little by little, you'll notice you're improving. Noticing it might even take like 6 months for you to really realize how far you've come. I feel like this is very approachable, and that's why consistency is so important, because even if you're just a little bit better every day, over the long run, it'll make a difference. So when I say don't trap yourself in your own cage, I really mean that as an entrepreneur and a freelancer, you have the ability to set your own framework and your own way of working and your own way of living. And sometimes you get so caught up in what you've built that you don't realize that you can change it. This happened to me like when I was facing burnout. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to keep like living this way. And I'm like, wait, I created this. I can just change it. Remember that things can always change and you create your own reality. So just keep that in mind if you're ever unhappy. So one thing I did do, but I feel like it should just be reiterated, is study people that you want to be like or you aspire to. And this is something you should constantly be doing just as you go throughout life, is looking at people and evaluating what they did and how they got to where they are. And even though your path might look really different, it's still nice to see the common patterns of the people that you look up to. As an entrepreneur, it can be a lonely path and you might not know if you're doing the right things. So if you look at people that you admire and you see what they did, it kind of gives you more of a blueprint to succeeding. However, at the same time, you want to make sure that you're still true to yourself and that you don't compare yourself to what their path looked like, because it will be very different. You're going to have a lot of imposter syndrome, but I will just say to trust your instincts, because you normally know what's right for you and you normally know what the right thing is to do for yourself, and you might be scared or you might not take the steps that you need to be successful. If you trust your instincts, you will never betray yourself, even if it doesn't end up working. So if you can, try to find someone that you can talk to, whether that's a business coach or a mentor that you really look up to. Finding a mentor can be really helpful because they can kind of give you a bird's eye view of what you should be doing. And sometimes when you're just seeing something day in and day out, you have such a close-up perspective of it that you're kind of missing all the other parts. So I think having a mentor can really give you a different perspective. And it's also just nice to talk with someone and, bond with them. Finding your flow really means doing what works best for you. So if you know that you're a night owl and you work better at night, then do that. Don't try to force yourself into something that doesn't really work for you. Unless you have a meeting with someone else, you can really work whenever you want as an entrepreneur or a freelancer. For me, in a really weird way, I like working on the weekends because I can get a large chunk of time uninterrupted. And this is something I kind of learned along the way of that I like to work on the weekends. That's when most of my clients, don't text or call me, but I like it because I can get a lot of work done and I know I won't have any meetings. And then by the time Monday comes around, I feel a little bit more prepared. If you've ever read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, one of my favorite diagrams in the book is his time management matrix. This is something that I didn't really understand until having my business for at least a year. But I do think that this model is super important, especially, you're setting your own schedule. So having this model to look at is going to be great. It's 4 different quadrants. And it's based on if it's urgent or not urgent, or important and not important. So quadrant 1 is important and urgent. So these are the things that you're going to want to address first. Crises, deadlines, or any pressing problems. Quadrant 2 is not urgent and important, and this is relationship building and recreation. Quadrant 3 is urgent but not important. So that comes in the form of phone calls, emails, reports. And then quadrant 4 is not urgent and not important. So these are the things that you're going to want to limit as much as possible. And that's busy work, some phone calls, some emails, any time wasters. So for me, because I work in social media, sometimes I have to do research, and this research can very quickly turn into me just consuming content and enjoying it without actually getting work done. So if you have your own business or you're starting your own business, try to categorize some of your tasks into this quadrant. And I think it's super helpful and eye-opening. Learning to prioritize can be a great time management tool. All right, so that's it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. I hope you found some of this insightful, and I wish you the best of luck with your own business. I hope you can learn from some of my mistakes as well. And if you have any questions about anything, please let me know below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you next week. Bye.